Okay, wow, this is kind of surreal. Procrastination monkey really got the best and worst of me, so sorry about that, Di. I have learned my lesson, trust me. So for those of you who know me, are probably under the impression that I am going to be speaking to you today about sustainable fashion, because that's all I seem to be talking about this year. However, I've kind of felt that this was a bit too obvious, so I've kind of diverted my topic, and I'm going to speak to you today about global warming. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting to see how many of your eyes glazed over as soon as I mentioned global warming. I mean, it's a pretty serious topic, like it should get your attention focused, like it's actually happening here. But yet, I lost your interest instantly. Blah, 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 sorry. 3 hours of sleep is going to come through this presentation. I hope not as much, but let's go for it. So anyway, since I've now bored you already that I'm going to speak about global warming, how do I actually now communicate this issue to you without being a total bore? I mean, we all are aware of the effects of global warming. We are constantly bombarded with the information, see it on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, we're all doing small things in our habits to change our lifestyles to make it a little bit better, whether it be getting the eco coffee cup, or perhaps using metal straws, or just letting that yellow mellow in the... But do we actually understand the implications of why we're all doing this? Or is it perhaps because it's now the cool thing to do, to be sustainable and be a green kid? Well, this is where I bring into my favorite philosopher, Nixon, and no, it's not because of his snazzy little earrings, mainly because of his impeccable brain, and how he challenges the way in which we should approach global warming. So in his book, Slow Violence and Environmentalism of the Poor, he speaks about how we need to change our approach to understanding global warming as a whole, in order to be able to communicate it properly, in order to make it more impactful and distinct, and so you all won't be bored by just the words global warming. So meet Lawrence Summers, this great looking dude. So in 1991, he made a bit of a slip up. It was quite a scandalous thing. He suggested that it would be a very great idea to transport all pollution from industries in the rich nation countries to underdeveloped areas. So that means to Africa. So he thought that this was a great idea because it would be an outer sight continent, as he said in his memo, which is a bit outstanding, because how can we just send all pollution now to Africa and just think about that it's all gone? He felt that this was a great way to balance the toxicity in our universe, which actually makes no sense. So anyway, with this being said, I was actually quite shocked to find out not many newspaper articles spoke about it. And if they did, it was a tiny little piece there that had to put the huge arrow, again, the sleep is coming through, arrow. So I was quite shocked that this didn't make front pages, but why? Perhaps maybe we need to change the way we think of the term violence. This is what Nixon suggests. So we're looking at these images. This is all images I pulled from Google as soon as I typed in the word violence. So it's instant, impactful, massive explosions. But would you consider this as violence? At first, you probably would say no. But think about it. It's actually leaving a gradual impact. It's leaving a devastating impact, something that violence would do. So he introduces a concept called slow violence. First, let's go through the definition of violence. Behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill something or someone. Now for slow violence, violence that occurs gradually and out of sight, a violence that is delayed, destruction that is dispersed across time and space, and attritional violence that is typically not viewed as violence at all. So essentially what he's saying is that we need to now focus our shift into another kind of violence, something to make it more impactful, in the sense that global warming is a gradual and slow process, something we don't see but we're aware of, but we need to take it more seriously rather than out of sight and out of mind. So I thought this was a great concept, and especially something that I feel that South Africa should deal with. As we are a country of great divide, whether it be unemployment rate, whether it be how we live, it's all kind of illogical how South Africa is now going forward. So let's put slow violence in a South African perspective and in context. Before and during apartheid, South Africa clothing industry was quite good. Like, we were getting quite a lot of income Hope like this live video is not actually going far. Anyway, so the clothing industry was booming. However, when sanctions arose, it kind of crippled the whole industry, as we were no longer able to get raw materials imported into our country, and we were no longer being able to export our clothing industry. So what happened? So when sanctions were uplifted, it was such a great thing, obviously, because apartheid came to an end. However, the government didn't necessarily put proper schemes in place to reintroduce our business sector into the global market. Instead, in increasing our productivity, the government signed a trade deal with China. This instantly brought in a mass-produced cheap goods, and specifically clothing. This is when South Africa was introduced to fast fashion, something I absolutely hate, as it is the practice of producing clothes at a ridiculously fast pace in order to meet high consumer demands at a cheap cost. So essentially, most of you are probably wearing fast fashion. I mean, it's an inevitable thing that's going to happen. How could South Africa possibly compete against the globe when we were so far behind? As we had no production skills, there was no investment into manufacturing, everything was taken 5 steps back. Now we were introduced back into the global world, and fast fashion was instantly there, being able to give us cheap products instantly. So there was no way we were going to compete. So we no longer became producers. We now just became greedy consumers with no sense of value. I mean, how many of you stand in front of your cupboard and say, "I have nothing to wear," when meanwhile, you have a hell of a lot of clothes? And to be honest, I am guilty of this. I can see my dad nodding in the crowd. But yeah, I feel as if we've become a throwaway society. Since everything has become a lot cheaper and more instant, we no longer think of the value further than beyond, so we necessarily just throw away. We become the problem, but what if we can become the solution? So in order to become the solution to the problem that we have created for ourselves, we need to broaden our understanding of the impact of slow violence in order to redefine the problem. So let's fight back against cheap imports and become more conscious consumers, in the sense where we invest money back into South Africa. We buy locally and produce goods, as well as supporting our local designers and entrepreneurs, as this is the only way it's going to create a good sense of job opportunities. So I said I wasn't going to talk about sustainable fashion, but how can I not? So these are the various ways in which you can dive into sustainable fashion. I've gone through number 7, secondhand and vintage. This is my love. At the end of last year, I started a small business in which I call Washing Line. Basically, this is what I'm trying to promote, is that we need to change the way in which we think violence. So with Washing Line, I try to do this. Essentially, I sell clothes for people. So things you don't no longer want or think you need, other people do. So essentially, you give me the products and I sell them for you, and whatever's not sold, I get sent to homeless shelters. We need to think along these lines in order to create more job opportunities, because essentially what I would like to do is hire people with our matric certificates in order to come and work in my sustainable fashion business to do small minimal tasks such as sewing or perhaps mending our products, because this is what needs to happen in order to bring change. So eventually, I'm now going to show you a little video that my good friend Dean Dustin, there, little producer. You also will see a few models' faces that are going to be in this video, but essentially what I want to do is make you feel uncomfortable with your purchase decisions, make you second guess. No, it's not an international problem. It's actually a problem that's here. We are the cause of the problem. If we keep buying into sustainable we need to buy in sustainable fashion. If we keep buying into fast fashion, then we're just perpetuating the problem. As companies, international companies, are under the assumption that we need their products. We don't. All we need to do is reinvest money back into South Africa. So please sit back, relax, and I hope you feel uncomfortable.